Hooray!
Okay.
I was panicky there for a minute.
Okay, I'm just checking if... No, see, okay, Therese, why don't you do this? Since you can hear us, right? Let me call you and you can hear us that way. Would that be okay with you? Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. We are. Oh, she can't hear us. Okay.
So, Dr. Samuel, the part that I think I was most interested in having you...
Hello?
Yeah. Hi, Terry.
Hi.
Okay, so you couldn't hear us. Hopefully, you can hear us this way, and we can hear you through our system. So that should work.
Okay, that'll work. Thank you. I don't know what the problem is, but thank you for working this out.
And it is being recorded, so we should all be fine. There might be an echo because of this, so let's just bear with that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so Chris, you want to start?
So, Dr. Samuel, the piece of this that I was most interested in having you go over again was the course content from... we had discussed on Friday the fact that our pathophysiology course has a tremendous amount of content, and you had discussed that if we communicated with you, we could abbreviate the content to say, for example, like one module for each one of us. We would build out that whole module, but we would not build out the entire course, just to demonstrate for you that we understand what we're doing with the technology. And I was concerned that when I was communicating that to the group that I wasn't doing a very good job explaining we still have to meet, we have to do everything, but we don't have to do everything for every module, I guess.
Yes, okay. So it's not possible to design a 16-week course for this project. That's just not feasible. However, what I want to see is that you are capable of doing it, that you can come up with outcomes, that you can design assessments that make sense. So, and do you have the core elements of a course? For example, you have your introduction. Now that is essential. The same way, do you have a conclusion for your course? So those two modules are kind of a given. You can't do away with those. Other than that, you guys can choose whatever content area you want and take a module each.
Okay.
And it's fine. So it doesn't matter to me whether the content will flow, because I have absolutely no idea about your content, right? I'm not going to test you on whether the content makes sense. I'm going to be looking at the pedagogical aspect of it. So don't get too caught up in the content and trying to put everything in. Rather, think about the activities that you're going to do and the assessments that you're creating. Do they have value given the content that you're working with? Does that make sense?
I think so.
Sure. So, like, if I think Janelle really likes acid-base pH, that part of physiology. I like communicable disease. I think Chris chose something he really liked, and Suzanne did the same. So if we each choose just one piece and we develop for that one piece, that's really what you're looking for, because that demonstrates our skills. Is that right?
Yes. But someone's going to have to do double duty, because you guys still have to work out your introduction and conclusion.
Right.
Sure. Right.
And
yeah, that makes sense.
okay, and you can even, there have been groups that take it on as we are 4 different instructors and all 4 of us are going to be conducting this course, and so they do a common introduction module where they all introduce themselves. So creating a course from that angle.
Okay. Okay. Well, then I would write for communicable disease because that's just something I'm really interested in. So that would be mine. And then I would contribute to the beginning and the end, just like you said. We will kind of all give input to that. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The other concern I had about your activities, it makes sense if you're thinking of it along the lines of consistency. However, when you're thinking about assessments, you can't always be consistent on assessments from module to module, right? So assessment, sometimes it's a paper, sometimes it can be a discussion post, sometimes it's a quiz. Your assessment will be driven by the outcome you want to establish. So in your current design, you have the same concept map, discussion post, exam kind of layout, right? And I get where you were coming from. It's fine, but you need to think of it in the larger scope of things, right? Now think of this as a full course. Do you think students can handle a concept map every module? Do you think they can do a discussion post and an exam for every module? Think of the workload, because we talked about that as well. And while we are looking at consistency, you also have to think about, are they doing redundant, busy work? Is it just boring for them? So remember, think of your, what Sim says is, right, you look at the end first, your outcomes first, and then you design from there. So you're doing a backward design. So what is your outcome? What is the activity and assessment that will most effectively assess what you want?
Okay.
Now, consistency in a course can be built up in the design itself, right? All of you can have the same kind of introduction or the same kind of banner or things like that will bring in consistency. A welcome message for every module adds consistency to it. Those kind of things. And if your module is broken into readings, assignments, activities, that's consistency. So it doesn't have to be consistency in this small a scale.
And so when I was laying out the activities and the assessments, I started working just a little bit on the syllabus part of it today. With what I did was I didn't discuss this with the group yet. I was working independently, but I sort of alternated activities. So 1 week was a discussion, 1 week was a concept map, 1 week was a quiz, that sort of thing. Which would give more variety and it would have fewer activities in every module. So something like that.
Okay, so how about this? Now that you have kind of identified where your interest lies in these topics, like Therese says she likes communicable diseases, is it? Or whatever your area of passion is, put aside the assignments that you have designed so far, right? Take a completely fresh look at the outcomes and decide for yourselves, for this module and for this content, what is the most successful assessment I can design? Okay, don't think of what the other modules are going to have. Maybe this module, your content requires a simulation. That's the only way you can do it at a nice level. Then fine, think about that, come up with your assessments. Then meet as a group and see how it plays out.
Okay.
That seems like good advice.
Okay, and remember, I'm okay with all these changes that you're making as long as the design of the course still looks neat and clean, and all the decisions you make need to be justified in your paper 3, the narrative for this, which is where you're going to say, in this module I did this, this and this because the literature says this, this and this, and I made these decisions. So as long as you justify it for me, that's fine. So I have no issues with you throwing off some modules and just focusing in on 3 or 4 modules. That's perfectly fine with me. which is why we have the whole scaffolded aspect of it. I expect you to make changes, and then I will only grade the final document.
Okay.
So
then that paper is a paper that we're all writing together. One paper for this? No.
No. Okay. So there are two parts to it. One is the project that you design and put on D2L, right? Okay. So that's the team thing. Paper 3 is an individual paper.
Okay.
And for the
That's
D2L,
where we account for why we set up this course the way we did.
Yes.
and for the D2L site that we're building, do you want us to put in all 18 modules just as like a mod, or you just want us to put in the ones that we're putting content in?
Yep.
Okay.
Reframe your whole thinking of your course. Okay, your course now is going to have 6 modules: introduction, conclusion, 4 content modules. That's it.
Yep.
Okay, so you can come up with any title that you want. Maybe it's an introduction to some kind of health thing. I don't know. Just come up with some title. All right, that's fine. So for those 4 modules, make sure you have some sensible content. When you're coming up with content, is it all going to be readings? Do you want to throw in some videos? Whatever you want to do. So that's up to you, the resources you locate for that. Again, don't get too carried away in it. I'm not grading you on that. And we just need to get an idea of, I need to know how far you're going in sourcing for your materials. I'm not going to look for a comprehensive presentation of it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That really helps. I think that refines some of the stuff that I had thought from Friday, so that really helps.
Okay, so what I want you all to be looking at when you're doing the syllabus is the rubrics are going to be important. For whatever assignments you come up with, you have to create rubrics. So those are the kind of things you want to be spending time on. Okay.
Okay.
And little things like that you want to be consistent on, as in the formatting of all the rubrics, the formatting of your assignments. Those kind of things are where you're going to be consistent.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I've used D2L before as an instructor, and I know I haven't played around a lot in our D2L site, in the one that's set up for our course, but I know the last time I used D2L, we had the option of building a rubric straight into D2L.
You still have that. Try it out and see.
Okay.
It depends on what kind of a rubric you want to have. The reason I don't use it is because it doesn't allow for a range in the rubric. I can't say 13 to 15. The rubric in D2L will only take 15, 14, 13, 12 kind of a
Okay.
So,
But I mean, if it does work for whatever we're using, can we format it that way instead of?
okay, so think about this. These are the little things you need to think about. Yes, you can have it on D2L as a rubric, okay? But you also have to think of students who might want to print it out. So if you have it on D2L as a rubric, can it be printed out?
Okay.
Right? So those would be the pedagogical things I'm looking at. So if you don't have that, then that would be a question I raise to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So then if we, for our lesson, if we have we decided maybe to go with video or voice over PowerPoint or something, we would need a transcript to go with that. You're expecting both, right? Because that would be both, or we would say that a transcript would be included. Not sure how much you want us to develop then.
Okay, when you say video, could you just explain what you're thinking of, Terry? Is it going to be like an hour-long video that you're going to create?
I hope not.
Or are you linking to an existing resource? How are you doing it?
No, do you remember how we talked about the advantages to faculty making their own video lecture, like you do?
Yeah.
And checking in with the class, seeing how they're doing. You could mention what they're doing well, maybe where they need to spend more time, and then giving them some maybe some points that you want to maybe emphasize from their readings in that. Would there be a transcript that we would need to develop with that?
Yes. Now remember, yours don't have students, right? So you'd probably be giving a module introduction where you're going to say, this is what we're going to do, and these are the readings, this is what we're focusing on. It's going to be more like a logistical overview kind of thing. And yes, you do need to give transcript for that. If you're giving me video resources, I kind of understand that they might not always have transcripts, and within this confine, you won't be able to give me a transcript. And remember, if you give me long videos, I will ask you questions of why you're doing that. So think of best practices in that as well.
Yes. What do you think of as a long video? What's a long video to you?
Best
5
practice
minutes?
is anything less than 6 minutes. Yep. So even if it is a content-heavy 1-hour lecture that you do face-to-face, online you're supposed to chunk it down into smaller modules, smaller pieces. So it's like you give them a short little thing, and then you quiz them on it or something, and then you give them the next thing. That's best practice for online learning.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
This has been very helpful. Does anyone else have anything else that they'd like to cover?
Okay, so my last comment to you would be, don't get too caught up in D2L. Okay, D2L by itself can start drowning you, and if you start going into all the intricacies, you'll just get stuck there and you might not have time for anything else. So look at the big picture, give what is necessary, don't take too much time with all the other stuff. And do not set up date restrictions for anything.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So
Did you say, what was the last thing you said? Do not do what? The last.
Date restrictions.
Okay.
Like in D2L, you can set it up so that it opens at a particular date, closes at a particular date. So I don't want you to do that, because then others cannot review your course site.
Okay.
Okay. And so I will stop recording. Once it has finished processing, I will email the MP4 to all of you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you very much for signing on with us tonight and your patience in bringing me on so I could hear. I appreciate
That's
that
all
very
that matters. All right.
you.
So, okay. Good night, everyone. And I'm
Okay,
sorry
bye-bye.
I
Everyone,
stopped
thank
the
you.
recording now. Okay.